January 26, 2026, Highguard launches. On day 1, the game receives 5,000 negative reviews, 82% of the total. The worst possible rating on Steam. And this is a game made by the people who created Call of Duty, Titanfall, Apex Legends. How is this even possible? December 12, 2025, the Game Awards, the biggest ceremony in the gaming industry, the final announcement of the evening, the most prestigious slot, usually reserved for giants. Monster Hunter Wilds in 2023, Elden Ring in 2021, games guaranteed to bring the house down. Jeff Keighley, creator and host of the show, this time gave the final slot to a studio nobody had heard of, Wildlight Entertainment, for free, no placement fee. He knew these people personally and believed in them. A trailer appeared on screen. Highguard, a PvP shooter with magic and medieval aesthetics. Release date, 6 weeks away. The reaction was not what they hoped for. Another hero shooter. Looks like Concord. Why was this the final announcement? On YouTube, the trailer got 10,000 dislikes, less than 1,000 likes. Moist CR1TIKAL, one of the biggest streamers, recorded his reaction. This is a generic hero shooter. It gives me the same vibe as Concord. Concord. That word would haunt Highguard all the way to launch. For those who don't remember, Concord was Sony's game with a budget of around $400 million. A hero shooter with original characters, launched in August 2024. Peak player count on Steam, 700 people, shut down after 2 weeks. The biggest live service failure in industry history. And now, every new hero shooter was automatically compared to this corpse. Wildlight had a plan. The same one that worked with Apex Legends. Minimal marketing, quick release, let the game speak for itself. But there was a critical difference. Apex came out of nowhere. A complete surprise. Nobody had time to form an opinion before trying the game. Highguard was announced on the biggest stage in the industry, and then went silent. 6 weeks of silence. No gameplay videos, no streams, no previews for influencers. The studio's social media, radio silence. Forbes called the game MIA, missing in action. On Reddit, people wrote, "Does this game even exist?" On Steam, posts appeared. Either the developers are idiots, or the game will be delayed. And then someone dug up that 2 people on the Wildlight team had previously worked on Concord. Not key positions. One was an outsourcing producer, the other an engineer. But for the internet, that was enough. Concord 2.0 became a meme. The game was buried before launch. And then, 5 days before release, something happened that nobody expected. December 21st, Sunday, Angeles Crest Highway, a scenic mountain road in the hills above Los Angeles. At 12:45 p.m., a red Ferrari 296 GTS flew out of a tunnel, lost control at high speed, crashed into a concrete barrier, burst into flames. Behind the wheel was Vince Zampella. If you don't know who that is, you're about to find out, because this is where the real story of Wildlight begins. 2002, the office of 2015 Incorporated in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Vince Zampella, a 32-year-old game designer, had just finished work on Medal of Honor, Allied Assault, one of the best World War II shooters. 2 million copies sold. Critics raved. And then Electronic Arts announced the Medal of Honor series was being taken in-house. The team that created it was no longer needed. For most people, this would have been career over. Zampella gathered the team, 22 developers, and proposed, "We can go our separate ways to different studios, or we go together and create something that will eclipse everything we've worked on." All 22 said yes. They went to Activision, EA's main competitor, got $1.5 million, named the studio Infinity Ward, and started working on a project with the internal codename MOH Killer, the Medal of Honor Killer. Call of Duty launched in October 2003. Activision was so impressed that the next day, they bought the company outright. But this was just the beginning. Call of Duty 2 became the breakout hit of the Xbox 360. Modern Warfare redefined the genre and moved the series from World War II to the modern day. And Modern Warfare 2 in 2009 $310 million in the first 24 hours. $550 million in 5 days. More than any movie. More than any book. The most successful launch in entertainment history. Zampella and his partner Jason West had created the third best-selling franchise in video game history, after Mario and Tetris. And that's when Activision decided to destroy them. Somewhere in the depths of the corporation, someone created a presentation, a PowerPoint, a few slides. Topic: how much money the company would save if they fired Zampella and West before paying out bonuses. Answer: $36 million. Activision launched a secret operation called Project Icebreaker. Goal: find dirt on their own most valuable employees. The company's chief counsel wrote to the IT director, "Find dirt on Jason and Vince. We just want to get rid of them. This is an order from Bobby Kotick." Bobby Kotick, CEO of Activision. They hacked the founders' corporate email, read their messages, looked for anything they could use. And all this before Zampella and West had done anything wrong. Activision wanted to destroy them before any betrayal. In March 2010, they were called to a meeting. They thought it was to discuss bonuses for the record-breaking success. Instead, they received termination papers. Security escorted them from the building. The lawsuit dragged on for 2 years. $36 million grew to $1 billion. Activision paid $42 million to other Infinity Ward employees. The settlement with Zampella and West was separate. The amount remains confidential to this day. But before the lawsuit even ended, they founded a new studio, Respawn Entertainment. Rebirth. And this is where the people who would later create Wildlight enter the picture. Among those who left Infinity Ward to follow Zampella were Chad Grenier, Mohamed Alavi, and Jason McCord. All three had worked on Call of Duty since the first games. Alavi created the iconic all-ghillied-up mission in Modern Warfare, the one where you crawl through Pripyat in a ghillie suit. They followed Zampella not for money. They followed because they believed in him. At Respawn, the team created Titanfall, a shooter with giant robots, wall-running parkour, and vertical gameplay. Everything Call of Duty was afraid to do. Titanfall 2 became their masterpiece, one of the best single-player campaigns in genre history. Critics gave it 9s out of 10. Sales were catastrophic. Why? EA, their new publisher, released Titanfall 2 on October 28, 2016, 1 week after their own Battlefield 1. 1 week before Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. The two biggest shooters of the year, 7 days apart from the same publisher. Battlefield 1 sold 15 million copies. Titanfall 2 sold 4 million. Analysts called it a suicidal window. Fans still call it a betrayal. But the team didn't give up. February 4th, 2019. They did something crazy. Marketing director Arturo Castro proposed an idea inspired by Beyoncé. In 2013, she released an album without any warning. Just dropped it in the middle of the night. Result: record sales. Castro said, "If we announce the game 6 months early, the hate will start. Where are the Titans? This isn't Titanfall 3, another battle royale. They'll bury us before launch." The plan: don't announce the game at all. Release it the day the world finds out about it. Apex Legends appeared out of nowhere. A free-to-play battle royale in the Titanfall universe. 1 million players in 8 hours. 25 million in a week. 50 million in a month. For comparison, it took Fortnite 4 months to reach 45 million. Chad Grenier was the game director of Apex Legends. It was his strategy that worked perfectly. By April 2021, 100 million players, billions in revenue, one of the most profitable free-to-play games in the world. And that's when key people started to leave. December 2021, Chad Grenier leaves Respawn. January 2022, Mohamed Alavi leaves too. He'd been working on a single-player game in the Titanfall universe. EA canceled the project a month before his departure. In February 2023, they announced a new studio, Wildlight Entertainment. Third company, third attempt, same people. About 100 developers. Most had worked together for over 20 years. From Infinity Ward to Respawn, from Respawn to Wildlight. "We're like a sports team in championship form," Grenier said. "We don't need time to gel." For 4 years, they worked in silence on a game they called Highguard. And now, you understand why Vince Zampella's death is not just news. He didn't work at Wildlight. He stayed at Respawn. But he was the person who brought all these people into the industry, who believed in them when nobody else did, who showed them you could leave corporations and build your own thing. He didn't live to see the launch of his student's game. 5 days short. Jeff Keighley wrote, "Vince was a visionary with a rare ability to recognize talent and give people the freedom to create. I always felt his best game was still ahead of him. Now we'll never know what it could have been." January 26th, launch day. At 10 a.m., Highguard became available on Steam, PlayStation 5, and Xbox. Free-to-play, full cross-play. 97,000 concurrent players in the first hours. For a new studio with no marketing, a serious number. And then, the reviews started coming in. "Optimization is terrible. Image is blurry even on RTX 5080. Maps are too big for 3 versus 3. Another generic hero shooter." One player wrote, "Even if you sold a kidney for a top-tier graphics card, you still won't get a clear image." Within 3 hours, player count dropped to 60,000. Rating: overwhelmingly negative. But here's what's interesting. Many negative reviews had less than 20 minutes of playtime. People logged in, saw technical issues, wrote a complaint, and logged out. Professional critics wrote something different. A unique proposition in the world of online shooters. A gameplay loop crafted with passion. One of the most creative concepts of the year. One reviewer noted, "Despite an 18% rating, 80,000 people are playing right now. If the game was truly unplayable, that number would be 0. So what is Highguard really? Not a hero shooter. Wildlight calls it a raid shooter. 2 teams of 3 players. Each has a base to defend and upgrade during the match. Magical storms appear on the map. At the center, the shield breaker, a magic sword. Capture it. Bring it to the enemy base. Break their shields. Start the raid. But the other team can intercept the sword and counterattack. The match evolves. Players gather resources, upgrade equipment, rebuild their base between attacks. This isn't a 5-minute arena. It's a strategic 20 to 30-minute game. Our trailer didn't show this well, Grenier admitted before launch. We showed abilities and gunfights because they look spectacular. But the core of the game is something else. The problem: most players never learned what the core was. They watched the trailer, saw hero shooter, remembered Concord, and moved on. What really killed Highguard on day one? Not the quality of the game, the context. The hero shooter market is traumatized. Overwatch lost momentum. Marathon from Bungie is still searching for an audience. Concord became a symbol of failure. Players are tired of investing in new character rosters that might disappear in 2 weeks. The silent strategy that worked for Apex failed here. Apex appeared from nowhere. Nobody had time to hate it. Highguard was announced loudly, given 6 weeks for hate to ferment, and then went silent. The worst of both worlds. And finally, Concord broke something in the collective gamer consciousness. Now, hating new live service games is a sport. Leaving a negative review with 20 minutes of playtime is the norm. There's something tragically cyclical about this story. 24 years ago, a group of developers left EA to create their own thing. Activision helped them, and then betrayed them when they became too successful. They left, founded Respawn, created Titanfall. EA killed it with a suicidal release window. They created Apex Legends. And when it took off, EA started canceling their other projects. Now they're at Wildlight, without EA or Activision protection, without billion-dollar budgets, without room for error. Call of Duty still exists. Activision makes billions from it. The people who created it have nothing to do with it anymore. Titanfall is dead. Apex works, but the team that created it has left. And Vince Zampella, the man where it all began, didn't live to see his student's game launch. 5 days short. Will Highguard survive? The game is free. The barrier to entry is 0. The team promises a year of content. They have experience. They supported Apex for years. Live services can turn around. No Man's Sky transformed from disaster to success. Final Fantasy XIV relaunched and became a legend. Day one isn't always the verdict, but players look at Steam and see overwhelmingly negative. I don't know how this story will end, but I know one thing. If Highguard dies, it won't be from lack of talent. It will be because the industry these people helped create no longer has room for them. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel. I make deep dives like this every week. Write in the comments, will you give Highguard a chance? And which company should I cover next? See you soon.